medicinal too. Anti-inflammatory, cleansing, good for liver and kidney. This plant grows pretty much in all continents.
In 1958, on the 1st of January, Mother gave a message which was about material nature. And I will read you the message and I will read you what she says about it. O nature, material mother, thou hast said thou wilt collaborate, and there is no limit to the splendor of this collaboration. In 1956, there was the descent of that which Mother and Sri Aurobindo had spent their whole life trying to bring down, what they call the next plane, the plane that has always been there, latent but not manifest. We are talking about what Sri Aurobindo calls the supermind, which in Sanskrit is called the Vijnana plane, the fourth one, Turiyam Swith. It came down and many things began to take place. Year after year, there are changes. But then Mother says, in her conversations with the kids in 1957, she's talking about an argument in the family. It's quite interesting if you think of what's happening with us right now. There is an argument in the family, and somehow material nature seems to feel that this new consciousness that has come down is not going to be something that she's ready to collaborate. So it's in its second edition, and hopefully there are some other books following. So something's missing?
It's the band. I think it comes with the band.
Okay. So it's a coloring book for adults. It helps us to become children again. And this is another thing that's interesting in the world, that somehow if you can keep that inner child alive, then you're in a good space. If you think you know already everything there is to know, then somehow you're getting old. So this idea of being young, taking a coloring pencil and coloring these weeds, it might contribute towards an inner health, which is also part of the outer health, right? So, I'm going to hand over the mic to you, and later we'll explore this basket.
The basket? No. I think is it on? Yeah, it's on. The basket has a lot of the edible weeds from the book, which you can have a look. And there is a trick question. There is a little snacks after this, which we will graduate from here to there and have some. So there are 4 things that are they all in the basket? Actually, 3 of the things, of the 4 things that we would eat as part of the weeds, which we'll have the snacks with, they are in this basket. So I'm going to ask you, what are you eating when you're eating? So I'll just pass the basket. A lot of really good things I'm hearing about me, and I hope that I remain worthy of that. What do I tell about the...
Can you tell us how you have turned to this? From being a scientist qualified in some hotshot university, how did you arrive at this?
To me, the weeds, as you say, that there is no word in Sanskrit, I think for me, all plants are medicinal and only some are edible. But how you experience plants can be very different. But it has to be, for me, for you to actually appreciate it, it has to be physical. Somehow physically, you need to either go out and see it, grow them, eat them, write about them in the poetry, sing about them, or have art. And we will see a lot of art by Kalai today, which is also the weed art. So how I arrived at this is, I realized that being an urban person primarily, I had a lot of interest in different things which are environmental. Today there was a deforestation happening in some tribal area, and I was doing petitions about that. At some point, and this comes from my training in ecology. I did behavioral ecology with Rao Kali, who many of you might know. One of the things that you are taught that how to think in other things, hoof, feather, feet, whatever you have. How to think from the perspective of the other. And I realized that from the perspective of any of these people who are maybe in these places, it really doesn't do a very good service to them. Because I am, say, a tribal person, and I see suddenly, oh, the world is actually behind me and writing petitions and interested in me, and the next day they are not. And what happens to me? And I realized that I have a same syndrome that I have fallen into, in which, like flipping the channels with a remote. I am basically flipping the channel. The channel I choose is environmental, but somebody else can choose other. And I am therefore not the connected person. And I really dug into that, what made me do that. And I came to the conclusion that I myself am not that rooted to my wilderness around. And that's why I'm appreciative, but not that appreciative of somebody else's wilderness either. So then I started figuring out what is the wilderness I can connect to, irrespective of being wherever, urban, rural, wherever. And then, so I asked people around, and one of my friends, I remember him very annoyed almost with my question, said, we all want to go and and experience nature, but we don't have that much of holiday, and it costs money. And then this answer kind of epitomized, kind of crystallized to me what the problem was, that we consider nature somewhere else, and we are somewhere else. So nature is somewhere you have to go, spend money and experience, and then come back to non-nature place and live your rest of your life. And then I thought, okay, I have to find something for me and for people like him, something that connects me to the nature every day. And first thing came to mind is actually, as the agent of wilderness, is birds. So bird watching is a big thing. So I thought, okay, maybe bird watching is the key thing. Then I realized that my working in different, I had worked with in areas that tribal people live in India and in Africa also. And in both places, I have never found a tribal person who will say, let's get up in the morning and go for a run or go for bird watching. This doesn't happen. But they would say, let's go for a foraging. So foraging, relating to something which is edible, they can pick, these are very much part of any culture anywhere. And then it occurred to me, weeds are everywhere. I mean, then from then on I started noticing, when you go to Pondi, right next to the, the drainage pipe, there are
sidewalks.
The sidewalks, there, you cannot, almost you cannot escape. They are, to me, the agents of wilderness, waving their flag as high as they can for us to notice, just that we don't notice. So from the time that I noticed them, I thought, weed it's going to be. And because, I'm not a botanist by training. So botany and I didn't have a very easy relation. So, to me, it was taught to me like a grammar, which not necessarily is the...
It's not lived, it's taught.
It's a rather dry. So I wanted it to be joyful. So, because I was having fun learning about them. So I thought how to bring the joyfulness about my learning to whoever I'm actually telling the story. So then the coloring book came.
And actually, it's in the cutting edge of urban life. What is called urban foraging is catching on all over the world. Auroville is often a little bit backward in this kind of area. But urban foraging is something that many people who want to stop, to be slow, to look, to notice, are noticing that nature is never very, very absent. She comes out of walls, she just comes and she'll take over a place after a while. We human beings have this arrogance to think that we create spaces, but nature is always there. Nature is always waiting to step in. So why don't we become conscious collaborators with her and find a way to harness what she's gifting us? Because we are creatures of nature, so something like this is very, very important. Yeah, you want to explain this?
So what is unique about this is the I hope I'm loud enough and I don't need the mic. Right? I think I don't need the microphone. Probably.
Can everyone hear?
Yeah. So this was actually the first coloring book in India for adults. I didn't realize that I was such cutting age, but it so happened that by the time this was published, it happened to be the first one. But what is actually remains
So
unique.
let us say the thing with first things is they don't sell so well. They don't catch on so easily. It's out of print, but
Yeah.
it took a while to catch because it's first.
It is. It's first, and it's in its genre of its own, and people don't know where to put it. As soon as they hear coloring book, they put it in the children's section, and yet it's not quite a children book. So there's a little confusion about it. And what it remains unique about this book, because right now there is many coloring books in India and abroad, is this colored insert. No other comes with this. And this is actually in the same order that the coloring, the weeds are there in the black and white that you can color. In the same order, this is here, but which is a color, in a guide to color. If you want to color it, like a natural color, you can always color purple, the leaves purple and put glitter, so I don't care, because it's fun. But otherwise, you can actually take this out and go for a walk. When you're going for a walk, you can take this. It's very easy to carry. And when you actually read this, this tells you how to pre-process. I cannot emphasize, in this from 2015 when the first edition came to now, I think my learning has been that you have to be really cautious, careful, and as far as the pre-processing is concerned. Because it's not the recipe. It's recipe, you can honestly create anything and you will, taste, which is not at all traditional recipes what I have used. It's a creation of, in fact, the tea which we have made, I have never made before because there was something we decided to make and it was not found, so it was plan B and C put together has created the tea. So you can do all that as long as you're careful about the pre-processing. Very important. Pre-processing takes care of all the toxins. Why there is so much of concerns about toxins? All the wild weedy plants are wild. And they are growing on their own. You have not planted them. We are not giving any special treatment to them. So they are toughies. They are like those tough kids growing up. So they are really they have
Street kids.
Yes, they have all the right toxins and the right things for them to survive. Some of them, because we are both herbivores and carnivores, humans. But our range of herbivory is not as much as all the herbivores are. We cannot eat what all the cows and the ruminants eat. So we have a small, narrower range within which we can eat. So the wheat plants, because they are wild, you have to tame them somehow, get rid of the toxins which are called anti-nutrients. And in a way, it's so funny that some of this act of getting rid of anti-nutrients actually enhances the nutrients available to the body. So it enhances the nutrients that you want, it's good for you, and you take it. What is another thing that I have also, my learning in all this, the season in which the different weeds grows is the season your body needs them. So, during the change of season, there will be certain weeds growing. And you are supposed to eat that, even if you really go by, okay, I'm going to go Ayurvedic diet or keto diet or whatever diet you follow, they will actually recommend that kind of food. Except that we are looking for them, most of us, in the grocery store, in the shops, whereas they are actually growing around us. So they are actually growing when we need them. And in the quantity we need them also, because wheat plants we don't need a lot. I always say I'm actually not say I am a very lazy person by nature. So for me, the ideal gardening is weed gardening, because weed can grow, and I said I'm really gardening, that's intentional, right? And then even for picking weeds, for cooking, you just need a handful because they are so potent. You don't need a whole lot. So you don't have to have spend the whole day to collect a whole lot of weeds. In your daily lives, if you recognize them, just pick a few, make a tea, incorporate in your pot herb as part of soup or part of whatever you want. And it's very simple. So I think the simplicity attracts me.
I think some of this stuff you can get. I know that I heard a conversation between Matilda and Nina, and Matilda in Mark's Cafe, she makes a special salad and she's using some of the stuff that Nina recommends. So I heard them chatting how you should serve it, what you should do, how it is. So there is a whole training to be done, but it's kind of fun a little bit. We are almost out of time, but I want to, yes.
I want to say thank you, but for me, not about eating, about picture. All graphic Nina made herself.
Yes, absolutely. She's an artist, she's a doodler. That's what I was saying, that she even makes three-dimensional shapes and little things that for each festival in India she'll make something in a little plate, and it's just really surprisingly marvelous. I would like, some of you are wearing leaf prints. Would you walk up in front?
Yes. And the creator is Kalai herself.
Okay.
And I want to, and you will see, because as I said, one of the things I am highlighting that, it's not about edible weeds. It's the book is called On Edible Weeds, but edible eating is only one part of it. It's only one kind of recognition. You can recognize it as, in your art, in your craft, there too.
Okay, so here we have, I'm going to give you the mic and you're going to tell us what you did. Yeah?
And me too.
She's the artist. You should.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And me too.
These are natural prints. So this is made from teak leaves. So these are also forage. And what Nina is wearing is marigold flag petals. This is a roadside tree. You can recognize the leaf. This also collected wild.
So yours is teak tree, right? Nina's is marigold.
Yes.
And yours is
This is wild.
It's
a wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're wearing leaf prints. Natural.
Yeah. Another print was also here in Russia.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's all sorts of things you can do with local things. Lovely.
You have come.
Yes. Yes.
You forgive me, I want to share something, some which are common, some which are questions.
Yes.
First, I'm glad to hear so much about Nina's, yours, vast experience, I didn't know. All these herbs, have you tasted them, tried them? Now when I first came to Auroville, I was told, the nasturtium flower. You take the petals of the flower and the leaves and mix it as a salad. I was very raw, I still am. That's why I've come this evening, which is fun. I made a salad, it was delicious. The petals of the flower plus the mushrooms I wish you had mentioned. Then I'd like to share this with you. You have put out this flower, vital harmonies, mother significance, which we grow in abundance all over Auroville. Whether we practice it or not is another question. So what do you do with it?